Hey everybody, ZipCoolPs here from JBR channel, welcoming you to a tutorial type of video. Today I'm going to be showing you all how I make thumbnails. I've had people request me before to help them make thumbnails, get their opinions on their own thumbnails, and just help them with thumbnails in general. I'm sort of self-taught. I've taught myself a lot of things throughout the couple of years from doing YouTube since I was like 13 years old. So I've learned a lot of things when it comes to Photoshop and making thumbnails. So I thought, why not give back to the Fire Emblem community by making a tutorial on how I make my Let's Play thumbnails and just Fire Emblem thumbnails in general. So there's a couple things we're going to need first before we start. We're going to need some sort of background. The way that I do my style, the background doesn't really matter. You just need to keep sort of like a theme in mind. Today I'm just going to make a generic Fire Emblem 7 thumbnail, so I'm just going to go with this one right here. Oh, open image in new tab. I'm just going to go with this one right here. It doesn't really matter if it's too small or if it's too big and it gets kind of blurry. I'm going to be showing you how I get around that problem later on. But another thing we're going to need, if you aren't confident with how your text looks like I am, sometimes I like to use a Fire Emblem logo. This will make more sense later once we actually build a thumbnail, but this is an important thing. You can use the Fire Emblem logo, you can use the Fire Emblem 7 logo if that helps you out. There's tons of resources online to find stuff like this. I'm just going to be using the generic Fire Emblem logo for now. And then this is probably the best thing. I'm going to definitely link this down in the description. This is spiderresource.com, and this is specifically Fire Emblem Heroes. The reason why I love this so much is it has so many things from Fire Emblem Heroes. Let me scroll down. You can see there are tons of art from Fire Emblem Heroes. I don't play Heroes personally. I played it a little bit, but then I just kind of fell out because I'm not a huge fan of gacha games, but to each their own. But I absolutely love the art in this game, and that's what I use for my thumbnails because, hey, if there's a beautiful artwork of this, I can use this high quality version instead of like the old like pictures of strategy guides that have pictures in them. So yeah, I like to use this. For now we're just gonna go with Lynn because clickbait thumbnails are always very helpful. I would recommend having a folder for all your stuff and then you can just delete it after you're done. So we're gonna hop into Photoshop and we're going to open our couple of things. Desktop, we're gonna be opening our three important things. I'm going to be using Photoshop for this. You should be able to use this in some other programs. I'm going to list some on screen and some in the description that you could use instead of Photoshop, but I use Photoshop. That's what I'm most comfortable with, so it'd be kind of weird for me to do a tutorial without Photoshop. So when you first start, you need to decide the size of your thumbnail by hitting Control N or just hitting File and hit New. A lot of people like to put theirs at 920 times 1080. I'm gonna tell you right now that is actually a mistake. You will want to do it at 1280 by 720. The reason for this is YouTube has sort of a limit on their image size, and if you go with this super high or way bigger file size, which you can already see here is above 5 megabytes, I think that's what it is. If you go to the smaller one, it's half of that. And you don't really lose any of the quality from your thumbnail. I would recommend doing this one every time. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get rid of this background real quick. Alright, so the next thing is taking our wallpaper. I'm gonna be cutting out that logo right there, so I'm just gonna Control C and take the background right here. So you've probably noticed a problem. This doesn't fit, and if I make it bigger, it's gonna be kind of blurry. This is actually what we want though, at least for my style. I like to take this little blur tool over here, make it super big so you can get, almost all the screen at the same time. I just like to blur it out a little bit. The reason why is because when we're looking at the thumbnail, the backdrop doesn't have to be, too important. It's just kind of there because it's kind of weird to have, this as the background of your thumbnail. So we just need something that sort of fits the theme. I'm actually going to blur this a bit more because we don't want too much focus on the backdrop. Just like that. The background was honestly the hardest thing for me when I started learning thumbnails, so I'm going to do my best to teach y'all this as fast and swiftly as I can. So if we right click on layer 1, we go to blending option. This is where the money happens, right here. So what we're gonna do is, if you want to make it darker, I like to go to color overlay, switch it to black or gray, and sort of limit the opacity a little bit. This will just make it so it's a bit darker, but you don't have to do this. There's other ways of darkening the image as well. Sometimes I like to put a little gradient overlay on there and give it the overlay effect. This just gives it a bit of a sort of, I don't know, glossy feel. It just sort of adds a little bit of variety because the bottom will be darker, the top will be brighter. But I only like to put this on a little bit. This looks a little too crazy to me, so I'm going to put it about, I'll put it 25 for now, just so it has a little tiny bit of it. So here's the biggest thing, at least for me. You've probably noticed this with a lot of Fire Emblem YouTubers, that they like to use these ginormous stripes. How you can do that is by getting a stripe pattern. I will leave a pack of this down in the description if you wish to use it. But pretty much how I would do it, if you want to do the generic thumbnail like, you know, Mecha and Mangs use, what you would do is you would want to use the pattern, and then you want to make the scale bigger, something like that. But I actually don't like the giant stripes. I like to make them super small because it adds a little bit of detail, as you can see here. It's not, you know, the most important thing to have, but I actually really like the stripes. I use this in just about all my thumbnails, all my overlays, even non-Fire Emblem stuff. I use this little patterns. You can also limit the opacity if you don't want it, you know, too much. So we'll put it around 50%. But yeah, that's how I make my backdrops. This is honestly the hardest thing for me to figure out, which for some people you're probably wondering how. But I don't know, it's really hard for me. Another thing you can do is, if you use the rectangle tool, switch the stroke and then make this invisible. We can have a sort of box on the outside. You'll see this in a lot of thumbnails. It looks pretty cool. I'm gonna set it to like a green, because that's sort of a color I associate Fire Emblem 7 with, is like a green or orange. So I'm just gonna make that green. I don't want to make it too big, but I want it to be noticeable, so we'll put it about 9 PT for now. But yeah, as you can see, this already looks pretty good. Then we're just gonna throw a cool picture of Lyn in here. We'll just do this. We're gonna assume, you know, for this Let's Play, we're starting out with Lyn mode, right? So we're gonna just paste her right here. Honestly, that already looks pretty good. And I'm just gonna put her right over here. One thing in graphic design to always keep in mind, it's called, I think it's called the 2/3 rule. Pretty much, you want to imagine, we'll just make a new layer so I can delete it. You pretty much want to imagine that there are 2 lines. This isn't, you know, exactly precise, but you want to imagine there's 2 lines that split the page into 3. You want to have your most important pieces on those lines just about. So Lyn, will move her over a little bit. And I don't know why, but it's really appealing and eye-catching to the eyes. I'm actually going to move her slightly over, but as you can see, she's, you know, just about on there. She doesn't need to be perfectly on there. She just needs to be, you know, sort of in the middle of 2 sections. And then right here is where we're going to put our text. This actually usually takes me a while to figure out, but I'm just going to go through it super fast. I would honestly probably take more time, but I'm just trying to do a quick little tutorial for all of you. So we'll just put it over here, Fire Emblem. Let's say we're doing an Iron Man. Fire Emblem. Then the name of the game is oh, my shit is really big. The Blazing Sword. We'll make that a little bit bigger. Fire Emblem, The Blazing Sword, Iron Man. And then you can sort of play around with this. I would probably make the Blazing Sword maybe white, something like that. Maybe sort of a gray. Maybe even we'll do a little bit of orange. Like I said, I usually play around a while for this. Orange is sort of, you know, on the opposite side of the color wheel than green, and we have a lot of green and blues going on, so that sort of is eye-catching there. And then we'll make the Iron Man, we'll make it white for now. There we go. Alright, so I mean, you're pretty much done already. Like, this honestly looks pretty decent. Obviously, I would take some more time to make it as good as possible. But now you're pretty much done. For the rest of this video, I'm just going to be showing some little tiny tricks to make it look a little bit better. One would be going to the blending options and adding a little drop shadow. I use this for, like I said, about almost all my thumbnails. As you can see, it just sort of adds something extra to the thumbnail that we didn't have before. It makes the Lynn sort of pop a bit more. Another thing is we can give her a stroke. That didn't sound right out loud. But we're going to give her a stroke. The problem with this is sometimes you can see there's little bits that you wouldn't normally see out here. So if I do want to put a stroke on Lynn, I will have to delete stuff like that. This is why I don't usually normally put a stroke, because it's, you know, it's sort of awkward. It's sort of pixely sometimes. So for this image, I'm going to leave it off because I think it looks fine. Or you just want to make the stroke not so big, so it just adds a little bit. And then you can go in with the lasso tool or the eraser tool and very gently go around all of this to get rid of the pixels. It's up to you. I like to switch my character every time, so I don't like doing that, but it just sort of depends on the thumbnail style that I'm going for. Another thing that I like to do is sometimes I like to add bevel and emboss. Sometimes I like to add a little bevel emboss to the character portrait. It doesn't add much, it just sort of adds a little glow effect. You probably can't even notice it unless you pay super quick attention or flash it back and forth. It's not the biggest thing, but sometimes for my thumbnails I like it, and in this case I'm gonna add it to Lynn. We're pretty much just gonna copy layer style and we're gonna put this on all of our text. As you can see, it sort of makes it pop. I would probably get rid of the bevel and emboss for these ones, but by just clicking that. And as you can see, it doesn't work for the Iron Man part, but you know, we can change that. I'll just turn off the stroke for this one. But yeah, that's basically how I make Fire Emblem thumbnails. I would just, you know, recommend playing around with it, but use the tools that I've given you today to sort of make your own thumbnails. I hope I was able to give back to the Fire Emblem community with this one. If you enjoyed me, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I might make more stuff like this. I can make, you know, how to make an overlay, sort of like how I made this one for my Fire Emblem 6 Let's Play. I can show you guys how I make thumbnails in general and not just Fire Emblem. It's sort of just using these same tricks over and over again, but I guess I can show you guys that if you want to. Just let me know down in the comment section below. But yeah, it's pretty much simple once you sort of figure out all the tricks. But yeah, you know me, ZipColdPeas from JBR channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.